There we go.
And we're live.
And we are live. All right, appreciate you giving us your time, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us today. Got a couple questions for you. So I already know you grew up here. This is your city coming in. So what was it like playing in high school for the Eagles?
It was really cool. I grew up like right down the street from the high school, and it was the same group of guys that I played football with from the time I was in 5th grade, because North Olmsted has like a really cool 5th and 6th grade football program. So those same guys I played with in 5th and 6th grade, played with all through middle school, played with through high school, and like they're still my friends today. So I was always super connected with the community, and still am, honestly. But yeah, it was really, really cool being able to play for your hometown and with those same guys you grew up with your whole life. I think some guys might not get that experience because like whether you go to like a private high school or you move around a little bit. I always lived here, same guys, same high school.
Yeah, a lot of the kids from my high school, they left to go to like Ignatius or Ed's or those schools. So that was pretty cool. Is there any difficulties in picking like a college to go to, or?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely tough because, I went to North Olmsted and we didn't have a lot of guys who were getting recruited all the time, and, we weren't really pumping out like Division I players. I even think my coaches at the time were kind of, unaccustomed to it. I think after my junior year, I kind of blew up. I took like 30 full-ride scholarships to Division I programs that year. I had coaches all over the country flying to my high school. There was like a 2-month period in the spring. Like I basically didn't even need to go to class because so many coaches were just stopping in and pulling me out and wanting to talk to me. So, I obviously, the deal everywhere back then, there was no NLI back then. So it was, it was all about football in school. And for me, one thing that was kind of important for me was I was trying to stay relatively close to home. That way, like my mom and dad could see my games. So I was looking at like a lot of places around here, a little closer. I kind of wanted to be within like 6-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of important. And for me, University of Pittsburgh was where my dad's from, and my whole dad's side of the family. So all my cousins, my aunts, uncles, all Pittsburgh area. Like my dad was a Pitt fan when he grew up. Spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh. Felt really comfortable for me. At the time, Pitt was like really good too. We were ranked like 14 in the country coming in. It just made sense. And like Dave Wanstead and me really clicked. And he was the head coach at the time. And it just kind of was perfect scenario. It was 2.5 hours away. It was a program on the rise, and big time academics there too. A lot of people sleeping on that at the University of Pittsburgh, but it was just made sense for me. But yeah, it was tough sifting through it all. But I wouldn't change anything. Like I wouldn't have. I almost feel bad now with the guys with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because it's tough to almost like work through your situation, really commit to something because the lure to leave is so easy. You get some guy who beats you on the depth chart, just like I'm leaving. I'm out here. Or like your decision out of high school doesn't matter as much anymore because you can go somewhere for 1 year and just leave. So it's way less impactful now. Back then it was a lot tougher, I think. But there's pluses and minuses. Like still opportunities for guys to leave. Sometimes the situation was a total mistake. Or back in my day, it was they could sit out a whole year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this decision was tough. But it was perfect for me. I wouldn't change a thing.
So while going to Pitt, what was the best experience you probably had? Was there any big time games you enjoyed? Was it the guys, locker room coaches, like any events that you did?
Yeah, we definitely had like some huge games. I think my most memorable game was in 2012. We played Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They were ranked number 2 in the country, and we ended up going into 3 overtimes against them, and we lost actually on a field goal. I know like a lot of people would like your best memory to be a win, but that game, like we had them. We probably should have beat them. We missed some opportunities there, but they had like Manti Te'o was like Heisman Trophy candidate, playing middle linebacker. They were supposed to kill us. I think they were like 30-point favorites, and
wow.
To go into 3 overtimes, and that was a really cool experience. Pitt, when I was there, we were kind of a middle of the road team. We were always in bowl games, but we never played in big bowl games. We were like the 6-6, 7-5 type bowl games. We're never really competing for a championship, but we were always competitive. But yeah, those big games were awesome, and the friends and teammates I had was incredible. And when I played at Pitt, what was really cool was the relationship with the Steelers. A lot of people look at Pitt and see how many guys like we put in the NFL and how well they do, like the Aaron Donalds, the Larry Fitzgeralds, those type of guys. And I think that's just a product of the fact that when you go to Pitt, our facilities are like 50-50 with the Steelers. Like, you eat dinner with those guys every day. You eat breakfast, you eat lunch. They share the same cafeteria, we're eating the same food. They have their own weight room, we have our own weight room, but we share the same practice fields, and we have just one big indoor for both teams. So you're around pros all the time. So you kind of figure out how to be a pro at a young age.
Yeah.
Or if you go to a lot of programs, like even like at the Ohio States, I mean, you might be the best player at Ohio State, and you think you're big man on campus, but you don't really know yet. So it's very humbling. So I always thought that was really cool about Pitt too, and that's one of the things I liked about my experience there. And just overall, it was a cool experience, and I liked the guys I got to play with, and we were a competitive team. That was never huge games, but we were always competing.
You still talk to them to this day at all, or keep in contact with any of your old college buddies?
For sure. The guys I talk to still aren't people that, a lot of guys are going to know. Like the backup offensive guards, I'd like to tell people that I'm hanging out with Kenny Pickett, but that's not true. I still keep in touch with them because you kind of create that bond with those guys over those years.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, even if you don't see them for a long time, like I'll see everybody at a wedding, and it's just like, it was like we were hanging out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
So after going to Pitt, you go undrafted. Was it tough at all having to deal with that? Like, did you think you were going to get drafted at all? Or?
Yeah, so, I mean, what I always tell people, and I've had a lot of guys ask me about this too, because the reality of the draft is really like the first 4 rounds, like the teams know who's going to get taken. Mm-hmm. And even if you ask the most advanced scout and even go to an organization, because some of my friends are scouting now, like after those 4 rounds, like they really have no idea. What teams are valuing is all up and down the board. So, going to the draft, I was hearing projections for myself as high as the end of the 5th round. But, anything can change on draft day. I remember back on that day, I had people come over, and I told them, I was like, hey, I'm well aware, I'm a late round draft prospect. I knew for a fact if I didn't get drafted, I was going to get a contract.
Yeah.
Not without a doubt. I had a feeling I was probably going to go in the late 6th or the 7th. But if you really think about those 2 rounds, there's only 45 picks in that range.
Yeah.
And the teams that really like you, just because they like you doesn't mean they maybe didn't get a guard earlier, 2 rounds earlier that they thought was going to be gone the 2nd round, and all of a sudden they got some steal in the 5th. So they could love you, and that could still be true, but things just shake out a certain way. But yeah, the draft process was stressful for me because one of the things a lot of people don't know is that when you're waiting there and watching those picks go by, teams are constantly calling you. A lot of people would see my phone go off and think oh, that's the team drafting you. But it's really one of the draft strategies NFL teams have. This is kind of cool, is they'll have the scouting guys call you and be like, hey man, we really like you. They're just trying to see what's going on. They want to see if anybody else is calling you. How hot are you right now? Because before you get taken, they're holding you on the phone for 20 minutes. And then they'll finally say, okay, our pick's coming in, you're our next pick. But as those 10 picks before are coming in, someone from that organization who's intending to draft you is either on the phone with you or your agent. So it's a long build-up. It's not just your phone rings TV and you get the call. For the first round guys, that might be the case, but that's a little easier. When you get down to those late rounds, they might be looking at a guy and he goes 1 pick later, So it was cool, the draft process. Going undrafted was fine for me. A lot of people say that it gave me the ability to choose where I wanted to go. Because sometimes when you're in the late round pick, you have no value to the team anyways. Your signing bonus is $100,000 or less, so that's nothing to the NFL teams. They're totally cool cutting you. So you have no more value than anybody's undrafted, basically what I tell people. And it was kind of nice. My agent was saying that 15 teams offered me deals, and I got to pick the team that I thought was the best chance. And I chose the Packers because they did not draft an offensive lineman. So I was that right off the bat puts me in a good spot. You don't want to go to a team that just drafted 4 guys.
Exactly.
You needed that position of need. That would have been the best spot for you to start off.
Yeah, it was great. I really was kind of high on the 49ers too. Part of me thinks the Steelers, wanted me to go there, but just me personally, I felt like I wanted to kind of get out of Pittsburgh a little bit. I thought it'd be better to be a pro athlete in a different environment. Mm-hmm. So those were the top 3 teams I thought I would fit into well, but really it kind of came down to the Packers and the 49ers. And the 49ers actually offered me a little bit more money, but with Green Bay, they didn't take a lineman, so I thought you don't want to count pennies in the ground and your signing bonus and then possibly miss making a team and get a huge contract in the future. So
you played 3-4 years?
Yeah, it was 3.5. I was injured for part of it, like my second year. I went on injured reserve and then had a bicep tear, took injury settlement, kind of came back to Cleveland to rehab. So that was like a little gap in my career. But I started off with the Packers and, really practice squad like almost all my career. And back then it was a little tougher too. Now they have like 17 guys on practice squad.
Yeah.
Back then it was 10. So
so they can hold on to a lot more.
They can hold on to a lot more now. The year before I came in, I think it was only 8. So, I mean, even back then, it was so much. It was twice as hard to get on practice squad then. And I think back then I had a different mentality too, because you were really more of like a next man up.
Mm-hmm.
But now practice squads are a little bigger. Like some of those like guys, they know they're just there to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I was in practice squad back then, it was like every single week, like I was ready to play, because you never know if they're going to activate you on like Friday night and have to play in the game Sunday. So.
Was there at any point when you played for any of your teams, because I know you played for a couple in those few years, did you ever feel like you might have been better than any of the players that were there? Because, in the NFL, they hold about a good 40, 50 guys that just are there between practice squad and active players and all of that. Did you ever feel like, I should be out there, like that should be my spot, or at least like in rotation, or at least to be someone that's activated, maybe not play, but you're on the team for sure?
No, I definitely felt like that. I think it was my second year. I was the Packers. I went through my whole first year, so we're into the second off season. First preseason game, we played the Cleveland Browns at home, and the way preseason works is they're playing guys in certain sequences based on like how they see them during the season. So it totally caught me off guard, but the ones, so Aaron Rodgers, the ones are out there. They go out there for their first drive, and then the very next drive they put me in. I was the only backup to go into the game. So I was like, man, like I'm really. They actually view me as a guy to take the starting job, because they're playing me with Aaron in the game and the rest of the ones. So I was like, geez.
Nice.
And they kept me in the whole first half. Unfortunately, I had my bicep tear in the second quarter of that game with 1 minute left. And after that quarter, I was going to get pulled and sit the rest of the game. So unfortunate timing on that. A lot of times I think like that was really the year to kind of take a job and maybe get game experience and be a fixture for years. But things happen how they happen. Like every NFL guy, a lot of times gets their opportunity through someone else getting hurt. So when I got hurt, maybe someone else got an opportunity. It's tough to control it. It's all about being available at the end of the day. I mean, there's a lot of guys who can play, but if you're going to be hurt all the time, it's tough to get experience. Then at a certain point, you've played a little bit. A lot of the NFL teams are like, all right, well, he's been here 3 years, not enough experience, really. Like, let's kind of reload, draft up, another young guy, see what happens. So, that's probably my one like missed opportunity, getting hurt that second year. And I hung around for a little bit more, but I never really had a great opportunity where I was in a system for a full year, knew the playbook like the back of my hand, and was healthy and everything was going my way. After that, there were just so many things that happened to me, but that's kind of how every NFL player's story is, I think.
Do you have any favorite team or city that you played in the NFL?
Yeah, you know what? I really always enjoyed going down and playing in Miami. Even when I was in college, we played the U. And it was just nice because we were middle of the winter. I was in Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, we fly down to Miami. And it was just like, you're on vacation almost for a football game. I was like, I got to play a game. This is nothing. There's palm trees everywhere. So I always enjoyed like going down there to play like anytime. And it always felt like I was playing in Miami in December, which was like perfect because that's when it started to become miserable in Pittsburgh. A lot of guys on the sidelines are just, they're like icicles over there. If you're not playing, you're freezing over there.
That Miami weather was probably so beautiful. I can just see it, like just sitting there in the dome and seeing. That was probably clean.
It's an awesome place to play.
Did you ever have a starstruck moment while you were there, like at any point in your career?
I guess after a while, like when you first get on an NFL team, you're in the locker room and you're with these guys. And guys like when I was in the Packers, I walked in like Jordy Nelson's locker was like right by mine. Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers would be right there, and you're like, you feel weird almost because like I've been seeing these guys on TV, but like when I was in college, we played a lot of big name guys, and you could kind of brush shoulders with people. But then the NFL, like these guys were super celebrities. Like my mom knows nothing about football, and she knows who Aaron Rodgers is. So like that's like a different level of celebrity. So. I mean, I think that was cool, but I think the cool part too was, realizing that those guys are just like normal people and hanging around them and feeling like, this is someone I'd actually like hang out with if we didn't play football and we just like were neighbors or something.
Oh, that's one of the guys that you could kick it with.
Yeah, they're just normal people. And sometimes I always tell people this. I used to always feel bad for like the super celebrities sometimes. I mean, not too bad because they're obviously making a lot of money. When you're a celebrity, you're famous, right? But like, I would feel bad that like they couldn't live lives like normal people. Like, like take Aaron Rodgers. Like he couldn't like go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
He would be bombarded with fans and like, it's great. Signing autographs is really fun. But like at some point, like those guys gotta live too. And like, he can't go to the movies. Like we'd go out to dinner with the offensive line, and people would just interrupt the dinner every minute and like come ask for an autograph. Like people would be at the restaurant, like call their friends outside. They'd show up at like restaurants we're at and just keep coming up to him every minute. So he'd almost try to hide. Like he'd wear hoodies everywhere and stuff.
Security. It wasn't thinking about that back then, but now it's like everybody got security. You stepping out, you gotta have somebody protecting you guys.
Yeah, and also the other thing too now is like no one wants autographs anymore. Everyone wants pictures. Like, everyone wants to put it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever these people do now. So it's not just a quick signature. You're like stopping to pose all the time. So you almost gotta like look ready for pictures all the time.
Did you have? They say every professional athlete has this moment. Do you have a welcome to the NFL moment where you got hit?
He said, why you gotta get hit?
It's really funny. I remember it was like my first day once OTAs were over, you're with the rest of the team. I was in the Packers, and I was playing like right guard. And, I remember I was lining right guard. I looked to my right, and like Julius Peppers is lining up a defensive end. Now, I'm not playing tackle, so I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to block him. But like, it's crazy because Julius Peppers was tearing it up in the NFL when I was in middle school.
Yeah. So
I played middle school football, played high school football, played college, and then he's like a super vet now, playing defensive end on my right. I'm like, all right, I hope he doesn't slant to the B gap, I don't want the one rush him, but like literally, I look forward, and then there's Clay Matthews, like kind of showing me like he's like a blitz tendency, He's a little too close to line, his feet are moving, I was like, he's gonna rush me, and of course, ball snaps, and he runs straight at me and just pulled this ridiculous spin move on me. I looked like an idiot. I almost fell over it because I was so ready to get my hands on him. And I think part of it was just like being like jitters of like your first day against like NFL people all around me. But that was definitely my come to the NFL moment. Like, all these superstars.
Emotions got to be definitely high for that.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, after that, you transitioned into becoming a businessman. As you know, you own this beautiful PULP that we are currently in right now. What made you want to become a businessman or take business up and want to own your own?
Yeah, so for me, like, I guess when I got out, like, I knew I wanted to, like, find a career, and so I have that now. I work for a company as I'm a medical device sales representative, and I really enjoy that. The career gives me a ton of flexibility because I'm really my own boss in a lot of ways. I run my own business. I have a book of business with hospitals in the area, and, it's been great. I've been building that for years. I've been doing that since I got out of the NFL. At the same time, I was invested in real estate. My dad's pretty handy. He's taught me a lot. So, I started buying some small rental properties and doing that. And I realized that the last step for me to kind of taking it to the next level was, owning a business. Because I had like an earned income. I was developing like passive income streams. And then I was looking for something that was going to, also help me, grow wealth over time, and something I could really kind of maybe transition into. And what they always tell you is you want your side hustle to kind of get big enough to take over your job.
Yeah.
Like you want to grow it that way. So I had a friend who owned 2 of these, and he was from the same medical device background as me, and he was kind of doing really well for himself. And he was like, "Hey man, you'd be perfect for this. Like the same like leadership qualities you have are going to apply so well to this. You put this in like your community where you went to high school, and people are really receptive to it." And this was like a category of like food and restaurant that I was really passionate about because, I was a big smoothie and shake guy in the NFL. It's one of the best ways to supplement your nutrition because when you're burning tons of calories, working out all the time, it's tough to sit down and just keep eating food. But when you can get a shake in and get some protein, vitamins in, and have that on the go, like you're grabbing and going and watching film, that's a great way to do it. And I was always big on that. Something I always enjoyed about the NFL. And when I got out, I was still kind of looking for that. And there's places around here I was going, and PULP was one of those places I kept like going out of my way to go to. So it was a brand I really liked. So everything kind of worked out where like this is owning a business was what I wanted to do as my next thing. I liked the product. I loved it. This is a cool story too. I thought maybe I was biased, right? And like I didn't want to be biased and,
Yeah.
Get my first smoothie place because there's other places I thought were good too. So what I did was I got a party bus and I got 10 friends. I didn't tell any of them which smoothie places I liked. And I said, hey, we're going to go to a bunch of places. Everyone's going to be kind of smoothied out, but we're going to have everyone get something in all these places. Try to get something similar, and let's see what everybody likes. And I took those 10 people around, and 9 out of 10 people put Pulp as their number one of all the options in Cleveland. So that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is the real deal then, because I thought maybe it's just like, maybe I like this, maybe other people don't. But,
exactly.
If you look around, like there's Pulps in almost every city now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the product here is just incredible. And the system they've built, makes it so easy to be successful. So it just made too much sense for me. And I'm here now, and I'm looking to get another one now. I want to have another one after that, and just keep growing.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do you plan to open another pub or any other businesses do you want to get involved with?
There's a lot of things I've looked at. If there's a good opportunity, I would never say no to it. I mean, I really like the idea of having like a coffee concept too, just because I feel like I look at North Olmsted and the Cleveland area, and there's a ton of Starbucks and a ton of Dunkins. If you go to other cities, there's so many other like really cool coffee concepts out there, and I've looked at a bunch of those. I think that'd be really cool, and I've been kind of scoping out some buildings for something like that. But at the same time, there's other communities where I see like a Pulp would do really well, and at the same time, there's a lot of owners who have had Pulps for like 10, 15 years. Maybe they're retirement age and they're looking to sell those businesses, and those are other ways I can grow. Mm-hmm. And I have a really good structure in place. I have a girl who runs this restaurant for me, and it's just all about finding the right people. If you can find great people to run your businesses, like they're going to be successful. I mean, that's the key. So I'm just kind of attracting those good people and just looking for opportunities.
Man of many talents. We got a businessman, a football player, got some real estate going on. I'm trying to see what's up with that real estate. Oh, for real. Final question of the day. Do you have any future plans going forward with anything as far as your real estate or more businesses that you prefer to open up, other besides like having maybe a little coffee shop here and there, another pub? Are you trying to go bigger at all in the future?
It's hard to say. I really don't know. I mean, I never really had this plan to do all this. It just kind of worked out this way, and as it keeps growing, I don't know, maybe one day I'll be in a position to maybe own like McDonald's or something. I don't know. I mean, that's probably.
Say what y'all want. Them McDonald's is something I'd invest in too. People get the Happy Meals every day.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things where it's like I'm sure McDonald's is going to cost well north of 1.5 million, for an established store. So you just never know. I just keep my eyes open. I try to build relationships with anybody I can, and use those people as resources, because all this stuff I figured out, these weren't things that my parents were doing. I didn't have family members who owned rental properties. I didn't know anybody who owned franchises. I just, kind of met people and, had conversations with those people and just learned what they were doing. And I've shadowed a lot of people actually, just really came to friends of mine, says, hey man, like I know you do real estate, like can I follow you for a week? I'll get you coffee every day. Like, I'll be a fly on the wall. I just want to learn what you're doing. And I've been doing that for years now. And it's a good way to approach it, especially for, some of the, even the girls I have working for me, they're going to college and they're not sure what they want to do. I'm like, go find someone who you think is doing something you'd be interested in and see if you can follow them around for a week. If nothing else, if it's something you realize after a week you hate, better to find out then.
Yeah, for sure.
Later on, and if you love it, you can always keep growing.
Hey, you got any other questions you want to ask, my man?
Nope, that's it.
All right, appreciate you, Matt. If this is already about to get put on somewhere, so we might as well say y'all got to come down to Pulp on Lorraine Road and North Olmsted. Tell them that Darien and Jax sent you. Whoever's happening, appreciate your time. Thank you for having us and allowing us to come through and interview you today.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Yep.